You guys ever watched that blue Muppet that talked about Nintendo? Yeah, Hello. Yeah, that one. I've been a big fan of his for a while now. I think probably a couple of years ago now he made a video about the fact that Nintendo needs to grow Luigi's Mansion as a series while they have the chance, and I love that video. I love all the little ways he came up with to try and further that series' name. He discussed striking the Luigi's Mansion hammer while the sales are hot. Recently I was sat around looking at the sales of the last few Zelda games. Breath of the Wild has breezed past 30 million units over the last year or two. Tears of the Kingdom had a wildly impressive launch, cracking just around 20 million units sold, though it's mostly stagnated around 20 million since. And most recently we have Echoes of Wisdom to talk about. Because it's a top-down Zelda, it's probably never had any chance of getting too close to its 3D counterparts, plus there's a lot of new gameplay features that some people just wouldn't like. Even with all of that going against it, the game sold 2.58 million units. That may seem pretty tiny, and that's kind of because it's not really fair to say it's sold that much to this day. Echoes of Wisdom released on the 26th of September, and the sales units for the game were counted on the 30th of September. It had like 4 days to garner the sales that have been counted so far. Within the past few months, the game could have pretty easily cruised past the 5 million unit mark and may very well be headed to beat out Link's Awakening's remake, a game that sold 6.5 million units in a quarter of the time. Before the Switch generation, you would have had people laugh at you for saying that Zelda was bigger than Mario. Zelda was always quite niche in the big picture. It sold better than any truly niche series. It's a big player for Nintendo, but it never really came close to Mario, even if it definitely seemed bigger than it actually was. But now we can happily say that a 3D Zelda has sold more than a 3D Mario. Breath of the Wild wasn't just loved by Zelda fans, it was loved by a whole host of people, and that means Nintendo would have made a whole bunch of Zelda fans over the current generation. The fact that Tears of the Kingdom sold 20 million units basically on release says that much. So, as Olo did with that video on Luigi's Mansion, it's time to talk about why Nintendo need to go all guns blazing on Zelda over the next console generation. Apart from the elusive goal of trying to achieve Mario Kart 8 levels of success, Zelda has been cracking all of the targets to stand toe-to-toe with the plumber from Brooklyn. So it's time to talk about some of the stuff that Nintendo could do, or should do, to further that Zelda brand even further than it's already been escalated these past few years. This isn't a case of just trying to make the Zelda franchise even bigger though. They need to find ways to consistently keep the franchise at the levels that they've seen in the Switch generation. Some of these ideas might seem quite critical in a business sense, a little bit too far on the capitalizing on your audience side, but hey, if you want to grow your gaming franchise to even greater heights than Zelda has seen in this generation, it's kinda what you have to do nowadays. Sorry. So instantly there's a very obvious thing that they have to do and are already doing. We've known about it for a year now too. The Legend of Zelda movie. Now I know it's a year on and we're still all a little bit surprised that it's going to be live action, and we all have to kind of pretend that it doesn't exist until the inevitable hilarious casting announcement. But I think from a growing the brand perspective, making a live-action Zelda movie isn't a bad idea. What is a bad idea is making a mediocre or bad live-action Zelda movie. Looking at a case study from Sony themselves, the company behind the Zelda movie, let's take a look at the Uncharted movie. I guarantee you forgot it existed. Uncharted is one of PlayStation's biggest IPs in recent years, so they wanted to go all out and give Nathan Drake a movie, with Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Sully. General consensus is that the movie wasn't outright bad, just very mid. Mix that with the fact that a brand new Uncharted game hasn't come out since, and I truly don't think the movie did anything for the Uncharted name. No bad and no good. Now the Zelda movie needs to do more than that. It needs to at least be considered good, much like the Mario movie was in 2023. If it's considered good, then that's already an amazing start, and let's not forget that we're probably a little bit away from the next 3D Zelda release. Similarly, we're quite far away from the Zelda movie actually releasing. It would be stellar timing to have the next 3D title released the same year as the movie, if not in the same couple of months. Movies bring in more casual audiences as long as it is a good movie. Other sides of media other than just games are an amazing way to hook people into your gaming franchise. While Echoes of Wisdom doesn't have too much bearing on the future of the franchise in terms of sales numbers, it absolutely does have an integral part to play when it comes to the future of the series and where it might go in the next 10 to 15 years. Echoes of Wisdom was such a departure from what people are used to with the Zelda series, to the point where many called it a spin-off, especially over here on YouTube videos that were covering the game prior to release. But if the Zelda series can have such a departure as Echoes of Wisdom, what else could the Zelda team do to differentiate certain games? Maybe we could finally actually play a game as chic like that old concept art suggested? Zelda games are usually quite samey, even when it comes to spin-off games in the series or the multiplayer outings like Four Swords or Triforce Heroes. As a fan base, we love to explore dungeons, and in general we love exploration and the gameplay that comes with a Zelda title. It's why so many people were quick to call Echoes of Wisdom a spin-off. Now, what's one way that the Zelda name could increase its reach through its games? Well, you can make people fans of your series with your spin-offs. How many people out there absolutely love turn-based RPGs? Guarantee a whole lot of you just raised your hands. A whole lot of people. You only have to take a quick look at series like Dragon Quest, older Final Fantasy and the Shin Megami Tensei series to realise there's always a giant market for those titles, especially in Japan. It's not new to say this, but it would be a pretty huge move for a Zelda spin-off to revolve around turn-based combat. Have a developer like Grezzo or just anyone else but the Zelda team really work on these weird spin-off games that lead really hard into different kinds of combat or exploration. Pushing Zelda out into the new genres will have people who love those genres checking out the mainline games, and in turn the mainline games will get a sizable push in sales. Some of these spin-offs may only sell 1 to 2 million units at maximum, but they will no doubt push a lot of people to play Zelda titles. They did it with Hyrule Warriors and Cadence of Hyrule, and I think leaning into this approach even harder into less niche genres would be a great idea to further the brand to more and more people who might never ever have had the drive to play any of the mainline 3D and 2D titles. I can't help but feel like there's a chance that Echoes of Wisdom just might have pushed the boat out enough that these sorts of moves aren't entirely out of the realm of possibility, and I personally feel like it would just be a great move. More Zelda games for everyone and more sales for the mainline series. Now, here's another way to keep the growth going after the Zelda movie. This is going to get into hugely speculative territory, but make movies on top of that original blueprint. Obviously, it's a surefire bet that if the Zelda movie does end up doing well critically and financially, then it'll surely get a sequel, but go even further with it. Zelda doesn't have the wealth of characters that Mario does in terms of spin-offs. For Mario, you could easily do a Luigi's Mansion movie and a Donkey Kong movie and nobody would really bat an eye, especially since they'd all be animated movies. But if Echoes of Wisdom can have Zelda as a playable character, then wouldn't it be cool to get another movie that isn't centered around Link and is instead centered around an adventure with Zelda? The other obvious one is having Link in a Smash Bros. Movie, but I really don't want to have to think about Nintendo having a cinematic universe, so I'm going to leave that thought as just that. A thought. There must be other spin-off movie ideas, but I'll let you guys sound off about those in the comments. Next, for goodness sake, Nintendo lean more into Zelda merchandise. Sometimes Zelda does have some really cool merch, but a lot of the time they're throwing out some random stuff and dropping a price tag on it. There's a whole lot of official Zelda merch out there, but the quality can sometimes be really lacking. I'm sorry if any of you got this, for various reasons, but the 2025 Tears of the Kingdom calendar that some of you may have found under your Christmas trees is downright disrespectful. Look back at some of the coolest Breath of the Wild calendars and then look at this Tears of the Kingdom calendar. It's genuinely awful. Bits of artwork with not much going on at all. A lot of these are just the pieces of artwork that you'll see in thumbnails for random Zelda videos. Maybe even this one. I think they could upgrade and really do some cooler merch for Zelda, considering it is Nintendo's most expensive series in terms of production value. And finally, and I hate to even bring this up because it will likely cause a lot of arguments in the comments, but here goes. I think that the Zelda timeline either needs a refresh or future games really need to lean into trying to connect it into some sort of timeline. Despite a myriad of problems with the continuity of a lot of titles in this series, Zelda still remains consistently one of the most interesting media franchises in the world to try and uncover the secrets of. The Zelda YouTube community is only as big as it is because of the theory and lore videos, if we're being completely honest. Outside of my most popular video ever, which is a ranking of all of the games, a damn good amount of my most popular videos are videos based around the lore of the series and theories around those games. The most popular Zeldatubers on the site, your Zeltics, your MBCs, your Hyrule Gamers, they all thrive on the lore and theories that surround the franchise, so how can the Zelda team cater to that audience? Just make a consistent timeline so we can really connect our theories without having to outright tell us the answers to a lot of the mysteries, or, in Tears of the Kingdom's case, having a load of mysteries that will never be answered because they were never designed to be answered. As crazy of an idea as it is to have a consistent timeline in the Zelda franchise, this should be something that started happening years ago, and it just kinda hasn't. Get a good lorekeeper in to make sure even the spin-off games can fit somewhere in the timeline, and Zelda's online presence will thrive for years before every mainline release, I promise you. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this one idea might have the potential to keep Zelda as popular as it is by itself. Here's a story. In 2018, I enjoyed Zelda games but didn't have any idea of the timeline or anything like that. One day, I stumbled across a few Zelda videos and then some Hyrule Gamer videos, learnt of the timeline and became obsessed with the idea of Zelda having a consistent canon, only to later figure out that it kinda just doesn't. Of course, the theories that people make are still genuinely amazing. That's why the lore space in this series will never die, but having a consistent timeline and mysteries sprinkled throughout would be the coolest thing that they could do for the popularity of the series. Would it take a lot of work? No duh, yeah, of course it would. But us content creators are dying for more theories to create. We love these games and we can be a valuable resource to the community. Tomorrow's Zelda fan could be yesterday's me. In a few years, there may be a 15-year-old looking around YouTube and stumbling across the idea of the Zelda timeline, much like me, and may go on to love the series forever. That could happen for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people looking for a creative outlet in one of their favourite game series. But I digress. I think having a consistent Zelda timeline would be really cool and would really help the games out in between releases, but after Tears of the Kingdom, the ball is kind of in Nintendo's court. Fair enough to Echoes of Wisdom though, that game did have a fair upturn in theories and mysteries and stuff like that, even if we've not seen many theories on the game yet. What do you think would be the best way to metaphorically strike the iron while it's hot and keep Zelda as big of a name as it has been during the Switch era, if not even bigger? Let me know in the comments. Please do like and subscribe, and a huge thank you to my patrons, especially all of these guys for sticking with me through the last year, and especially Sumji. Thank you, brother. I'll see you guys real soon, and have a great week.